So I can still feel the hot prickles behind my eyes that tell me I'm going to cry any minute now. I was standing there at the window in my kitchen, and I knew that any moment they were going to spill over onto my cheeks. Just a couple weeks earlier, we had crammed our family of 4 into an apartment in Milwaukee, a small 2-bedroom apartment with both of our children, 3 and 5, sharing a room. And now here I stood at the window of our new home, our own house. And as I looked out, I saw our 2 kids giggling and squealing as they were chasing fireflies all around the backyard. I looked at my husband, who was standing next to me, and he was already crying. And he put his arm around me, and we stood there and looked out and realized right then, with the utmost certainty, that we were in exactly the right place, where we were supposed to be at that time. The memory is so specific. It's so about that particular moment. And yet, it's also so expansive and overwhelming and, well, awesome. And that moment was also so transformative. Just minutes earlier, I had had doubts. Was this the right move? Could we actually afford what we now lovingly call the smallest house in Algonquin? Was it the right move to leave our established community of friends and come where we didn't know anyone, but there was a job? And in that moment, everything shifted from that fear and anxiety to certainty and hope. Not the unfounded, cross your fingers and hope for the best kind of hope, but an active hope, a hope that was backed up by choosing a budget and committing to sticking to it, and seeking out and investing our time and energy in a new community. Very soon after that, we found Unitarian Universalism. And I remember the experience of reading our first traditional source, the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. And when I read it, this story, standing there crying at the sink, is the one that leaps to mind. Because for Unitarian Universalists, whether or not we connect these experiences to the divine, they are religious experiences for us. And the reading that Lawrence gave us from Anne Lamott is from a longer essay where she says that the only prayer we need to say in moments like that is wow, is the sound that spontaneously arises from us when all other words fail, when we are struck speechless or have our breath taken away. And yes, I am aware of the irony that I'm going to talk about this experience for probably about 15 more minutes. Psychologist Dacher Keltner studies awe. In fact, he wrote an entire book called Awe. And in it, he defines this universal human feeling as the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. But he's quick to clarify. He's not talking about having a new intellectual understanding. This is an embodied sense, a shift from how you thought things were to how you now know that they are. It's mind expanding and worldview enhancing. And he too speaks of these words that we gasp or utter in those moments. And they, language or culture aside, are very similar everywhere. Oh, ah, wow, or whoa. They're primal and guttural. They hearken back to the earliest of human experiences. They're the proto-language. This experience of awe is something that evolution continues to select for over and over again in every culture in the world. And in this studying, what Keltner has discovered is that these experiences of awe jolt us out of ourselves. They remind us that we are part of an interconnected web. They may remind us of this core connection that we have to one another, or perhaps remind us of our kinship with the natural world. But for humans, over the course of our entire history, being reminded and reconnected to others is what has helped us to thrive. In this study of awe all around the world, Keltner and his team did a whole lot of really funky sciencey stuff, like monitoring the very tiny micro movements of facial expressions that indicate someone is experiencing awe, or looking at brain scans to see which part of our brains light up when we have an awesome experience. But the core of all of their study has been to collect the stories that people around the world tell about their experiences of awe. Because awe is ultimately a meaning-making feeling. And humans make meaning of our experiences and our stories. They collected these stories from 26 different communities around the world. And even within those different societies, they checked in with people from different socioeconomic situations. And they found that there were 8, what Keltner calls wonders of life, broad categories of awe-inspiring encounters. This, of course, contains what we would expect, such as nature, the experience of watching the seasons change, of new life, the crocuses coming out of the snow, big juicy red tomatoes, a double rainbow, all of those obvious, expansive, and vibrant experiences. They also noticed music leading to awe experiences, as well as art and design and poetry. All of these things often capture the experience of awe and share that with those who consume the art. Another area is collective effervescence. What a wonderful phrase, collective effervescence. This is where we share an experience and we all look around and go, you're feeling it too, right? It might happen in a religious setting. It might happen at a concert. It might happen hearing an amazing, rousing speech, but it is a collective experience. The next category is spirituality and religion. And this is the most common place where we name awe and we celebrate the awe-inspiring. We ritualize it, we repeat it, and we are very comfortable in this space naming the wonder that comes from the experience of awe. Birth, new life, epiphanies, this sense of discovery or deeper knowing, all of these have this sense of lightness, of springtime and growth and expansion and amazement and hopefulness. We expect to find awe in these moments. Or if expect is too strong a word, we're at least not surprised to find it there. But the dark of night, the dark of winter, the dark of hatred and bigotry, the dark of hunger and poverty, the dark of death, dark of war and genocide, famine and disease, darkness that feels like constriction, collapse, and decay. In these dark times, where do we find awe? Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers of PBS children's television fame, always said that when things are scary, we should look for the helpers. This is the eighth and final major category of awe-inspiring experience. It's something that Keltner calls moral beauty. Other people's courage, kindness, strength, or overcoming. In fact, in doing this academic psychological research across 26 different cultures from around the world, the most common wonder of life that was shared in the stories of the study participants was this moral beauty. They told stories of being moved by seeing others showing courage in the face of suffering. They spoke of being overwhelmed, witnessing actions to mitigate harm and right wrongs. These types of actions, this moral beauty, doesn't just evoke awe in us. The awe that is experienced when we encounter this kind of courage and strength often inspires us to do likewise. We are transformed by the awe that we encounter in the darkness. We are reminded that something bigger of which we are a part, and we are empowered to set aside individualism for the support, the nurturing, and the thriving of us all. Awe moves us to see in systems rather than individual atoms. And here we find the second traditional source of Unitarian Universalism, the words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. This is awe and hope that we have to actively look for. There's a reason that our winter holidays are all holidays of light. A reason that we celebrate the rebirth of the sun out of the darkness at the solstice. We celebrate new life and the promise of salvation at Christmas. We celebrate the miracle of abundance in the face of expected scarcity at Hanukkah. We celebrate the core values of community at Kwanzaa. We have ritualized this very human need to seek out stories of awe, to cultivate wonder, and to renew our hope in the face of darkness. However, a practice of being open to awe, open to hope in the everyday is not limited to holidays and rituals. Where Anne Lamott offers wow as a one-word prayer, Episcopal priest Barbara Brown Taylor offers 4 words. Reverend Taylor recently shared in a recent Substack post that she had discovered a Sufi prayer that helps her stay open to the possibilities of the world. That prayer is, Lord, increase my bewilderment. Increase my bewilderment. Allow me to set aside certainty, rigidity, conformity, to make space for wonder, to embrace not knowing, to regularly encounter paradox and ambiguity and roll with it for the possibility of seeing something that we've never seen before. And Keltner backs her up on this. The science is there because awe is not in the routine, the automatic, the default, our habitual patterns of mindlessly thinking and acting. Change evokes awe, a new perspective, a new experience, noticing something that we had ignored before. We can build this practice into our lives. We can cultivate curiosity and wonder. We can take time throughout our day for a few breaths and intentionally notice what is around us. Notice what is happening inside us. We can go outside and pay very close attention to every smell, every sound, every leaf floating in the air. We can read a poem and linger on our favorite words. We can listen to music and allow it to transform us. Do just one thing at a time. And we can wonder at the diversity of nature's beauty and human designs. We can remind ourselves that we are a part of the interconnected web, the whole of life. We could even put our attention on the folks around us and notice how differently they do things and marvel at the novelty. We can get curious at the variety of ways that humans find to be right right for them. And we can stay in conflict with kindness until a creative solution evolves out of the tension of our differences. We can delight in being fully present. We can allow creativity to ripen within us until we are creating the music and the art and the new ways of doing and being. We can be open to awe and may even become awe-inspiring ourselves. Increase my bewilderment. From one word to 4 words to just a few more, I want to end with one of my favorite prayers, one that I say every morning. It is called the set-aside prayer. And if you Google that, you will find many different versions, but this one is mine. Let me set aside everything I know and everything I think I know for an open mind and a new experience, that I may be present to the awesome, the wondrous, and the hopeful. And let me also find the energy and the courage to act accordingly. Amen.
Visit us at uusg.org.